Well, the controversial heartbeat bill is also moving forward in the state legislature. It passed the full House today by a vote of 65 to 21. That bill would make it illegal in Tennessee to have an abortion when a fetal heartbeat is detected, which is about 6 weeks after conception. Democratic Representative Gloria Johnson from Knoxville filed an amendment that would make exceptions for rape and incest. Other lawmakers never recognized her to discuss the change.
My entire district's voice was silenced today. That's over 60,000 people in Knoxville who their representative was not allowed to speak on the House floor.
Some pro-life groups say the bill won't stand up in a legal challenge because the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled similar bills unconstitutional in the past, but the bill's sponsor says he's ready to fight.
Over 230 times in our nation's history, the Supreme Court has reversed its own rulings. Should this legislation be challenged, it is absolutely a fight worth fighting.
Lawmakers in the Senate are still in the early stages of discussing the plan. The bill still has to pass the full Senate before it would head to the governor's desk.